harming the community is problematic, right? And other racial demographics, for people who they consider, like, say, for example, the in-lover or somebody who stepped away from their codes, they did much worse to those people. You know, these people can still walk around freely in society without being harmed. But the one way that Black society can say, you know what, I disagree with her stances on these things, the things that they say and do are problematic and harmful to our community, is by ostracizing them and saying, no, we don't stand with you. The ways that you behave are unbecoming of the direction that we want to go. You pander to white supremacy, because that's all we're saying when we say these things. If I call somebody a coon, immediately you can understand, like, all of these things being within that person's personality, right? So I agree with what you guys said as far as those things, but us having the ability and the right and the justification to call somebody from our community who's actually harming our community a coon is something that I think not only do we need to keep, but we need to expand upon that when it comes to, especially in particular, politics and people who are supposed to be representing us, right? That's one way that we can let, you know, each other and everybody else know, no, we do not rock with that person. That person does not share our interests, our desires. They do not hold the narrative of what Black America expects.
Alrighty, so
can I respond after you,
wait,
Nicholas?
real quick, David, because I gotta go to a meeting. All right?
After you.
Okay, so someone brought up a point earlier about, like, you know, like the Cubans and the gays and how the Cubans are advocating for the gays, and I think it got me thinking, right? Maybe this is part of the problem with the Black agenda. You all are asking for too much. Like, you literally want everything under the rainbow and $3 trillion in a Tesla, like, for your community. And I think that's part of the problem. If you guys narrowed the scope of what you were requesting and got more granular, instead of just wanting everything to be fixed overnight, I think we would have more progress as a community. And I know that sounds kind of ruthless to say out loud, but I'm like, that Kiva comment actually made a point. Like, the gays kind of stay in their lane. They got what they wanted with marriage equality, and then they moved the fuck on. And then, anyways, I don't think you can compare yourself to that group, because 40% of the gays are Republican. I don't know if people know this, but that's all I have to say for now.
Like, where did you get that from this conversation? No, I'm just curious.
Someone brought it up. Like, I just
wanted to say this one thing.
We definitely need reparations. Now, I agree with that.
Before we get into the reparation, let me just say this to JT. JT, listen, you have to look at it like this. If you have a problem with Black people highlighting degeneracy in Black culture to everyone so they can wake it and then change, you're the coon. I consider you the coon. And by you on the stage defending bad behavior, and it's so much of a bad behavior that white people are making money off of that bad behavior, right? If you look on YouTube, they have documentaries where people from the UK talk about Black culture, the hood, Black gangs like Oak Rock. All of them are made by white people. Whoa. They're making money off of this degeneracy. Whoa. And then when Candace Owens calls it out, like, hey, this is us Black people, wake the fuck up. And you get mad at us for calling out degeneracy in Black communities, you're the coon. And if you think Black people aren't allowed to call out bad shit in the Black community, you're the fucking coon.
Nathan, let me respond to that real quick, because what you did was you told me that you wasn't listening to anything I said. I mentioned before, when I very first started talking, that the Black community has a lot of problems. The problem is that when we're speaking amongst each other, it's not a problem. These are issues that we need to deal with amongst ourselves. But everybody is not going to take that information and use it to help each other as American citizens. Some people are going to use that knowledge and against Black people. For example, right? Even way back during Reconstruction, when Black folks were building some of the most successful communities in this country, we were, quote unquote, pulling ourselves up by our own bootstraps. That was during the time that they started creating the Sambo caricatures and touring, doing shows where they were depicting Black people as monkeys and careless degenerates. white society has always been a part of white culture in this country to try to degenerize black society, whether we were doing good or not. And that's what I'm speaking to. You have black people in this country who do the same thing now, regardless of how well black society is doing. And by that same token, right, never speak out against the opioid national crisis that we've been faced with for the last 20 years, by which our tax dollars are being spent, or the pedophile epidemic that's also been taking place in white society, right? You have whole communities being ravaged by these two things, and white people on these same networks that day after day talk about black on black crime in Chicago never mention these things, and our tax dollars are actually funding these things. Now, to add to that, Nathan, what good does it do for Candace Owens to get on in front of white people every day and run down black society? Does white society ever pump any funds into these communities or ever try to get boots on the ground to actually help these communities? No, they don't. In fact, if we look at the history of how American society has treated these communities, we see where the actual problem is. So you create the problems and then you turn around and run the people down about the same problems that you created. That's not being helpful, and that's my point. People like that only helps to harm the black community. They don't help it. Getting in front of white people talking about how bad black people are makes you a coon. Me saying that only highlights the degeneracy of how white society uses white supremacy to further dehumanize black people in this country. You understand what I'm saying? So again, like I was saying, the coon characteristic is something that black people need to highlight more and call those things out more, because people like that continue to practice the same white supremacy that was being practiced 80, 90, 100 years ago, when black people were actually building up our own communities, working with each other, creating prosperous communities all around this country. It's a part of American culture. Now, I know you probably don't understand that, right? Because you're not necessarily from the soil here, but that's just what I'm telling you.
I want to respond quickly to say that I'm going to elevate it a little higher and just reference.
Mr. Fixer, can you turn your volume up a little bit? You're coming in a little low.
Sorry, it was turned down. What I'm going to reference is two premises here. When both, and I'm going to speak for myself, a lot of times when I may say white, I'm referencing the government and the 1% of the oligarchs that run the country. Because I know there's 90% of the white people that live in these trailer parks are just as distraught and economically stricken as the rest of the black community. So the supremacy system doesn't help a common poor middle class white person, but they benefit from the proximity to whiteness to have the illusion that they're helping them. And they themselves, because they don't understand how harmful it is to themselves, they sort of don't align with the economic situation that they're in. Because the American government is set up like the aristocratic system that boarded it, and they function on the capitalism to have a system where, in England at the time of the inception of America, they had an aristocratic system of hierarchies of royalty. They took that and put it into a capitalist system to say we're going to have a hierarchy of people working, and the glass ceiling is no more than we're going to hold the line here, because if they get past this management position, the executive position, the CEO position, then they're going to overturn the system. So when we talk about white supremacy, and I may use the word loosely and say white people are Caucasian, I'm not talking about the common white person in this room or the common white person in the neighborhood. I'm talking about the infrastructure of legalizing discrimination, the infrastructure that people don't see the harm that it has done and marginalize African American community to its detriment. And then you have people that participate in the system, again, with no real power, but the illusion of power. So I agree with the need to highlight that, but I just want to reference and preface that when, if I may say white, I am not talking about the common white person. I'm talking about the Elon Musk of the world, and the Warren Buffetts of the world, where they're immune to that stuff. They're immune to it. And I'll say that if you do business on a high level, you disappear. You can't, you in New York City, you can go from East New York to Manhattan and go to a college and be the only African American in the college, in the classroom. in a business school, in a master's program. And you may say, well, they have a opportunity to walk through the door, but then when you go to the school system, like Thomas Jefferson, and you see that they're the first school in New York State to have a metal detector because they grew up in a system where the government, the federal government, purposely put drugs in the neighborhood to fund the Nicaraguan War and the Colombian Wars and the wars in South America in the 80s. Purposely did that. This is the system in which I'm speaking about when I'm talking about the infrastructure of white supremacy that they hide behind. And we know what they're doing and we are dealing with it. And now, I'll say this, not laughing or gloating. The chicken has come home to roost where the fentanyl is destroying the Midwest and these rural areas. And that's what happens when you allow the government to run roughshod over its citizens. And while we're screaming, it's going to come to you soon. It may take 20 or 30, 40 years, but you're going to be right where whatever they do to the African American community is an experiment on the country. I'll pause right there.
Hi, this is Books. Can you please put me in the queue? Yeah, I have many books, and there's many terms I've just heard on this stage that I've never read in books. So thus, it's not from formalized knowledge, it's from your opinions, your memories, your culture, your language, your society, yourself. Coonery is not in books, that's a concept. Whiteness is a concept. Everything the speaker just said is a concept. Reparations is a concept. This room is dealing with concepts, not facts. It's dealing with fiction. Everyone here in this room is dumber for listening to everything that was spoken in this room for the past hour and past probably 365 days that Nathan has been changing baby diapers while his wife works a full-time job. He's the real coon, and you're all more coons because you are all in the coon kingdom of Coon King Nathan. Thank you all very little. This is Books, and I am complete.
Education is imposed to benefit those in power. And there's something that you learn when you go to school. They send you to go do research to get your thesis done. And if you notice that if you based on the books you read, frames your perspective. So as you've spoken about the title named Books and you read books, when you are learning, you know that when you go down that rabbit hole too long and you're speaking about things like concepts, words enter the English language based on usage first on the streets, understanding and then digesting and then the meaning. So if you're saying what you just said about all the things being concepts because you haven't had the lived experience to use the word to understand the feeling and the emotion to connect it to a word and the description of that word. And when you're speaking about, again, a thesis as a PhD in a master's degree program, you understand that the books you read shapes your perspective. And when you, I'm going to land the plane like this. You could go in any classroom, read up any books about any country, do your thesis on it. And when they do an in-country visit, you're going to realize, and this was 30 people in a master's program, realize, oh shit, my thesis was wrong. Because when I came here and had the lived experience, what I read was not what I experienced. So I'm going to land the plane like this. You can never find all the words in a book to describe a feeling. All the feelings is between the spaces between the words and the line between the spaces and the paragraphs. I'll end right there.
So I want to say this to add on to that. There's at least about 10 books from modern times and past times that mention the word coon, Uncle Tom, and Sambo, all those words that we were discussing. So yeah, you clearly haven't read enough books.
Eric, that's a troll that you're engaging with. It was a joke.
It's good.
Yeah, that was John.
Leave them in the room. It's good for conversation. You know, when one is elevated consciously and have the wisdom to articulate their feelings. And
Oh, wow.
The beautiful thing about the English language is it's magic. It works as magic on people. And what it does to you is what you think something means, it really doesn't. Just like when you go to the courtroom, you realize that your English language is not maritime law. You know, and you understand that the reason why you fail in your attempt to litigate your case is because you don't have that language. Just like medical school or business school, because they separate the language from its purpose and its true meaning. So as Mr. Books come and try to push that envelope as if your lived experience is real when you're articulating it through your own feelings and your own emotions. He's disconnected from it because now he's highlighting just the things that they're speaking about. So he actually answers the question.
Great, bro.
No, I just wanted an opportunity to speak. Thank you for allowing this discussion to take a full, circle. I didn't want to speak in the beginning because I did want to get everybody's views. And it's very fair.
Could you still speak up? I can't hear you.
Okay. I'll fix that in 1 second. Can you hear me? Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So what we are actually discussing is something that has been in a private transcript for quite a long time. An idea of a private transcript is something that is strictly available to a cultural identity, whether it's Mexican, white, black. We normally have these terms within our community for quite a long time. We didn't share these terms and ideas with the mass society, but through our success, whether it was good or for evil, now we're up for public scrutiny. And a lot of these terms are circulated within the mass of society in America, and they're misused. It's like, if you say vato or whatever in Spanish, you can misuse these simple words, right? And so the concept that we're discussing is great, because it's propagating a culture that is overlooked quite frequently. But we do need to always remember to have care, and I believe everyone is doing their best here in the room, and I appreciate that, to remember that we're talking about an oppressed people that are trying to regain the scope of their culture through discussion, not through power. And this is one of the things that's going on here. A number of individuals are explaining the aspect of coonery or coon. And it's a way of us reclaiming that word and redefining it outside of what mass media may have taught you or what school or peers may have taught you. So it's very good that we're having this discussion because we're allowing the scholarship to continue. And that's just my input. I appreciate you guys for listening.
I'm not saying there's a finish line. I don't think there's ever a finish line, just as far as you saying our race is trying to.
Listen, Brian, this is Books. I have to interrupt. What Umar just said is stupid. There's no such thing as coonology. It's not a field of science or research or culture. Everything that has been said in this room, again, is the coonery that you're speaking of. It's like coons self-analyzing coons.
Kumar, I'm just asking, what measures or what measures would you use to say that progress is made, or at least what indicators, whether they're cultural, behavioral, monetary, legal, whatever? How do you know?
I think that's a very great question. And the only way to respond to that is what measurement or yardstick are we using to do this analysis? If the yardstick is built by individuals who create policy as it exists today within this country, then I think that we would probably be losing. Meaning, if the yardstick is defined by the African American people within this country, and that is what's used to rate success, then we'll probably have a better perspective. But in this world of policy and culture, we have to find a middle ground. And I think that's what we're looking and discussing about now after you bring in that topic. What does that middle ground look like? I don't know. I can't answer that question.
I've asked this question before. It's been several months. I don't think you were here, so I'll ask it to you. Let's say you are 40 years in the future, and you're talking to your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and you say to this child that, things are better now. You're very happy that this child is growing up today because you say, when I was your age, things were much worse for people who look like us. And Since then, things have gotten much better. And the child says, how did it get better? Or what caused it to get better? Or something like that. And as we measure, as we determine, there is measurable, noticeable, distinct progress.
Brian, it's still the now. There is no future. You're talking philosophically. Oh, great.
Let Umar respond, please. So how would you respond to that child to say that this is what changed, this is what caused things to get better?
I am speaking with Umar.
For several weeks. And he died. Beautiful family. Kids. I don't know what to say about prayer. Except that obviously it ain't gonna work. What does word mean?
Yeah, good question.
What does word mean? If you think the only purpose of prayer is to get what you ask for, then you're missing a whole large part of what prayer is meant to do.
Well, definitely.
Well, if you look at the definition of prayer, that's literally what it means.
No,
It's
it
a
doesn't.
request.
No, it isn't. It can be thanking, it can be praising, it can be requesting, it can be all kinds of things. Fuck you and your dictionary. Why don't you listen to people who have a prayer life?
Yeah, and I don't have a prayer life, but I would not only promote or encourage prayer, I would pray with people, no matter what their faith was, because I think it's a solemn moment. When someone dies, when you're in a moment where people need support and enter some sort of a meditative state. I've become more and more open to spiritual practices because they have an impact, and they make us, like you said, they make us feel like we belong to each other, right? It's one of, I would say, one of my tribal agendas, right? I want to connect with people, no matter where they stand, what they believe. I think prayer is a beautiful thing. Meditation, yoga, all these things work, right? I would probably not encourage people to say that, vibrating or feeling that something's gonna come your way is gonna bring that your way, but it will make you more aware. It will make you focus on your dreams and wishes. It's for a good reason that we evolved prayer throughout, thousands of years. Because it creates all these things that we're talking about between people within a group, and now it's, for me, a tool to go trans-tribal, not only to belong to my tribe and feel like my people are the best, but that I can converse with others, no matter what they believe, where they stand. I can, belong to a group that I don't label myself as, but that I can create bonds with.
It came on it.
You
Like
used
already
Windows
downloaded?
95?
That was the best Windows ever. Everyone knows that.
But that's so outdated.
It was the Windows endorsed by friends.
I freaking hated the Windows 10. That was the worst one. Someone back me up here.
I don't know. I have a Mac for my personal use.
Yeah, I do too. But now my work computer is fucking weird. It's a ThinkBook. What the fuck is a ThinkBook?
A ThinkPad?
From IBM.
Wait, you have a IBM. Thank IBM for that. ThinkPads are really good.
It's a ThinkBook.
Huh.
I don't know. That's what it says. Yeah, I guess, but it's bigger.
Ghetto.
It's a Lenovo.
Oh.
I don't know. I think I need to start deleting some of my emails because I just have to keep buying every month more and more Google space for my Gmail. Does anybody else have to do that?
No, I just refuse those offers. They're just trying to trick you into giving them money.
My school email it's through Gmail, and they're requiring me to like reduce my storage size to under 5 gigabytes, and I'm like,
just delete everything.
I'm like, dude, that's literally everything.
Yeah, like pick a year. Like, how much do you need records from 3 years ago? Let's say
They're not
delete
records. They're anti-Muslim memes.
Anti-Muslim memes? Yeah, delete that shit.
Who the fuck sends that shit through email, Jeff?
Jeff does.
Just saying.
He leaves
we know you, Leah. We know you.
It's through. Okay, if I'm gonna get anti-Muslim memes, it's gonna be through social media.
On Jeff's financial reports to all of his clients, he leaves some anti-Palestinian artwork, always. It's part of his shtick.
Well, you know,
If
if somebody's trying to sue you over stuff from 20 years ago, it's really useful to have those emails from 20.
I mean, I think there's little that I actually need to keep records, but it is my school email, so I use it for professional purposes a lot. There are some things that I need to keep records of, and it takes time to go through all that shit.
Nah, most of it is deletable.
You think so?
Yeah. Like you could just like go through it all. Like if it's like what, 8 zillion, just click the first 50, see how many you don't want to delete, and then archive them.
Here's what I like to do. Like, for example, I'll type in Amazon. Everything that pops up, I'll just check mark it and delete.
Okay.
Yeah, you could do it that way, and then and then it will let you bulk delete it. Like, it will come up like, do you want to delete all the ones like this or something?
Yeah. The world wants you to delete.
There's an app that's supposed to help delete all the bad emails, but I wouldn't trust them in there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, don't let anybody email. Just like delete them all. Mostly, like you can spot like from a peripheral glance a lot of like what you want to keep, and then just archive it. Chances are more than 50% you want to just throw away and never see again.
I've got a rule set up that anything with anything that was mass emailed, that's one of the rules you can set up. Goes to a separate folder, and then like once a month I just delete that folder. So that's probably half of my email traffic, if not more. And you can run that rule and just, it'll delete half of your emails basically. And it'll only be stuff that was sent to you and other, it'll be stuff that you don't need. It's all advertising and marketing.
Mm-hmm. Email's out of control.
That's the only thing on my Gmail that I cannot figure out, and I've not been able to figure out for years, is how to put stuff into files. Like my Hotmail, I can put things in the files and hold them over there, and it clears out my inbox. But I can't figure out how to do it on Gmail. I've YouTubed and everything.
Yeah, Gmail redirection is hard to redirect it to files. It's not always accurate, I find.
Oh crap, I need my computer. I need my actual computer. Do you think they can track what I'm doing on my computer?
Yes, they do.
Fuck. Okay, good thing I didn't use that shit.
Your router is actually a video camera. They say that like the AI is able to like access like looking at you through your router. Like if you look it up, I sound crazy, but like in like 2022, I think, Carnegie Mellon posted that like it's almost like a thermal camera that they could see around the router.
Thermal imagery. Agreed, Tammy.
Fuck, I don't know where my fucking MacBook is.
Yeah, there's no privacy anymore. Oh, Jeff, there's snacks that I was telling you about that are 3 for $10 at Publix. There's 3 in a pack. It's Sargento Balance Breaks.
All right.
Not sure that it's kosher, but it's good.
No.
Son of a bitch.
But I liked it in Portugal. It was cool. People are friendly there. Very nice.
I know. Don't you want to just be around nice people?
Yeah, you do.
Good morning, MG. Good morning, T.
And the beaches were beautiful. All of them.
Ooh, and G's here.
Good morning. Good morning.
What's up, Dave?
Gosh, it's a full house this morning.
It was slow to get going, but now we're here.
Oh boy. I don't know where the fuck my MacBook is.
Just take a deep breath. Where did you put it?
So, Paula, how long was he yelling at me while I was asleep?
Nastia?
Oh, I don't know, like a few minutes, and then the subject was changed, and then she went into what was it, the Matrix, like it was like all pixelated, and then we were like, oh, we can't hear you, and then when she came back, someone changed the subject.
That's good.
Woo, found the MacBook. We are good.
So it wasn't climactic or anything.
I mean, it wouldn't be. I was asleep. She can say what she wants to say. People know me and people know her.
Yeah, it was just like people on stage were just like trying to change, like uncomfortably trying to change the subject.
That's fine. It hurts her feelings that people say the truth about her. Wah, wah, wah.
Wait, who?
Cohen.
Oh. We shouldn't Lashon Hara.
Yeah.
I'm working on that.
Lashon Latove.
I'm working on
I mean,
that.
if they're
You're, of course,
Lashon Haraing, why can't you?
I mean, I generally do, but I should stop
Vent
too.
either, Rena.
I do it to vent, but I shouldn't.
Look, Cohen's a very good example of why we should not Lashon Hara, because that's why she's a toxic, cancerous bitch. Because of all the shit she starts with other people and says about other people.
To make up and stop fighting.
Oh, there's no making up. There's no making up.
Stop fighting.
No, there's no making up.
Yeah, some people have 2 faces. One face for certain people and another face for other people, and that other face is pretty.
So code switch.
Yeah.
But I always found it the best time to fight with a man is when they're asleep. I mean,
that's a good point. That's fair.
Oh, speaking of fighting of men, so in the Olympics for boxing, for female boxing, apparently they're saying like the Italian woman was like gave up to like the Algerian, and people are saying she's trans, but I went on a subreddit for Algeria, and the Algerians are saying that the West is lying and that she's actually a woman and not a man.
Apparently, they actually test, like, chromosomally, like, what the athletes are, and she failed the test, like last Olympics and this Olympics.
Oh my
That's
God,
a dude.
that's wild.
So wait, did she resign? What happened? She walked away?
No, I guess her opponent walked away, right?
Yeah, she like broke her nose like within 5 minutes. Like the Italian woman's nose was like severe. She was like injured, and she couldn't continue because the punch was too hard. So she like fell to her knees and like surrendered, I guess, or I don't know what the term is. And then and so now all over like social media and everything, everyone's like you know.
Is that the one that was reported to have a skull injury? Is that the same fight?
I'm not sure about all this.
You know, that's a really, this whole, like, especially boxing, but this whole contact sport insisting that trans women are, like, should be able to participate is really it's no different than, like, the Republicans back in the day opposing civil unions while also opposing gay marriage. Like, you're going to build a lot of hatred for the trans brand as these men keep beating on biological women.
Yeah, no, they should just keep them out of the sports.
Well, they should have trans categories if that's the way they want to do it.
They can have a trans category if they want. I don't know if that would be super fair. Maybe they could have like a unisex category.
A
But
league
then
of
probably
their
the male
own.
athletes from the gold category are just
No,
going to
I mean trans men fighting trans men and
Yeah.
trans women fighting trans women.
Give them a league of their own. That's what they need.
That's what I thought too.
But it's not fair to
You
like.
want trans men versus trans men. I'm not sure that all of the trans men are in all of the same categories, or vice versa.
I'm just
Then
saying
throw
that they
them in
shouldn't.
together.
The men are physically stronger than the women. Like that's why women have their own competitive.
They're
the
stronger
thing.
in different ways.
Gender-
Women
hold
are
on.
capable of different endurance feats that men are not capable of.
Here's the thing.
They
Gender
need to
is
go to the
a
mental
social
hospital.
construct. Gender
What
is a
about
social
steroids?
construct. Second,
Guys, there's only
They're all on
two.
steroids.
There's two reasonable ways to set up the Olympics. One, any human being may compete freely regardless of gender. Two, you have two categories, men and women. There is no like third and fourth and fifth and 12th option. There is
Yeah,
one
there
and
is.
two.
No, it's
Listen,
not just
listen.
1, 2.
The
Who says
Olympics-
that?
The
There has to be
Olympics is
4.
about, hold on, the Olympics is about physical characteristics. Gender is a social construct. It's a set of behaviors and expectations and attitudes that society attaches to you based on your physical characteristics. But nobody gives a fuck about the expectations, attitudes, behaviors, okay? We care about your physical strength and your capabilities physically. So it's not about gender, it's about sex. So you either do it by
Male
sex or you
runners
don't.
cannot compete against female runners.
Exactly, I agree.
We need to stop indulging the delusions of the transgender ideology.
No, just keep them out of sports.
It's
Listen,
fine.
Keep them out of society. Keep them out of the fucking. Keep them out of public
Olympics
space.
are not about gender.
No, you
Keep out
can't
of public
just
spaces.
segregate it. You have
They
to
can.
give them
They
their
have
own stage, but it doesn't
way.
have to be shared. It doesn't
Get
have to
them
be
to a nunnery.
intermixed. Like I just think it's an unfair advantage to create a new thing and then force women. You just gave us our rights. Let us have them.
That's the point of it all. That's what Marxists are weaponizing it for. It's
The
the same
Marxists.
reason. I've talked to a lot of LGBTQ people that are like realizing that Marxists are very homophobic and they're using the trans identity as a weapon to kind of silence and delegitimize their separate spaces and rights. And they're doing it to women with the trans identity the same way that they're using the Palestinian identity to delegitimize Jewish spaces, and the need for Jewish security. And they do it to silence Jews speaking about anti-Semitism. They use the trans identity to silence homosexuals and bisexuals and women from talking about homophobia and sexism. It's very similar.
You know,
a lot of parallels.
You can have a separate amateur sporting event like the Olympics for the trans. I think you can call it Trans Am.
Dead. Look, the Olympics is
Does
about
that
physical
mean you're
characteristics.
trans?
It's about physical strength and physical capabilities. It's not about what makeup you're wearing or how you're dressing. Like, nobody gives a fuck about your gender. They care about your physical sex and the muscle mass you have and your physical capabilities. Like, that comes down to physical sex.
But I'm just saying, you can't, if you want to do like transgender or whatever, that's fine. At the Olympics, where we're interacting with all of the international communities and everyone who's kind of on board with what gender means, it goes based on birth. If you were born this way, the end. Like, and they can set up whatever standard, and then that's just the rule. And frankly, I think all of the countries should follow suit, because all of humanity should just like be on board with the basics of gender. And then they can express other things in other ways through their customs. I don't think it's such a big issue.
But gender can be ambiguous too, because there's like intersex categories. So I don't think that those people should.
Not in
That's not
sports.
gender.
In sports, it's
That's
very
not
simple and
gender.
clear.
That's sex. Hello. Sex
So then
and
how
gender, it's sex and gender are
So you're saying it just has to go by gender?
Can I finish one sentence without being interrupted? Sex and gender are two different things. Sex has to do with chromosomes and physical characteristics. Gender is your behavior and your attitudes and society's attitudes towards you and stuff like that, and the expectations set upon you. It has nothing to do with your physical characteristics. Gender has nothing to do with the Olympics. That's what I'm trying to say. Physical sex has to do with the Olympics.
Trans is fake.
Because it determines your physical characteristics.
I want to welcome an expert on LGTV rights. Miso.
LGBTFJB?
Yeah. Miso, we're talking about trans women boxing in the Olympics. What
was the one that came out back with XX or chromosome?
XY would be a boy. Algeria, actually, ironically.
Yeah, and she was like, she beat the shit out of one woman or something. I don't know.
I just think transsexuals should have their own league. Why not?
No, they should just stay out.
I agree.
They can do whatever they want, but I think they have no place at the Olympics, me personally.
Why not?
None.
I mean, I don't care. Just like don't
genetic
give
anomalies,
people. Huh?
Yeah, the genetic anomalies are what we're looking for. We want to see the people that can run a mile faster than we ever thought possible.
I think he's talking about intersex. The point of like intersex.
There's people that are born XY.
The Olympics is not the place to settle your medical issues.
XXY.
But everyone's on steroids, right? So why don't we just allow
No, they shouldn't be. They should
They
not.
They are. That's just like all these athletes are on them.
They take supplements.
Yes.
They're all taking like stuff.
Yeah, I mean.
But they're narrowly tailoring it. They're not going, because like we don't want to see what a guy with a super lab can do with a super soldier. We want to see what humans can like produce of themselves with like all the natural stuff our government say is fine to take.
Agreed.
Yeah, human excellence. We're not trying to settle the question of which bathroom you should use on the side of the road.
Do you think that they're gonna mess with people's biology to win the Olympics? Like,
what?
Yeah.
I think the Olympics should stand up and settle the issue of biology for the planet.
What Danny is asking is a Gattaca type of environment where people are biologically engineered for specific traits. But even
That's gonna
with
happen
that,
a bit.
I'm saying mRNA. Like, couldn't you use that CRISPR to like make?
100%.
No, you cannot do that. Yeah, you cannot do
Yeah,
that.
you can. 100%. We're there.
No, not to the extent that she she means it. But like, you cannot actually change like billions years of evolution like with a injection. You just can't do it, or at least yet.
It's going to be clunky.
And another thing is, like, while you're right that people use supplements and enhancements, they're still working with whatever is available, and whatever is available is diametrically different from
different sexes. And I also wanted to comment one thing on Leah. Like, while I understand what you're saying, the difference between gender and sex, that difference came to be like 10 minutes ago, right? Because before, those things were used interchangeably. And in fact, gender was just a grammatic.
Throughout the Western world, it wasn't a settled issue in some more remote
To be fair,
communities.
and I'm not a leftist.
There are African communities and Native American communities that had multiple genders.
Yeah, but those are not genders. Those have to have they would have like a spiritual function within the society. They had nothing to do with
listen, I'm saying
Can I
the West
respond?
moved on from this concept a
Can I
long time
respond?
ago, and some of the world hasn't moved on from it fully.
Can I respond?
Sure.
So, to be fair, okay, gender historically applied to language. The word gender historically applied to language, yes. We didn't start really separating gender from sex until feminists started doing it. I think in the 70s.
Yeah, 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
And it was actually applied. It was applied to gender roles, right? So gender roles, gender became sort of smushed together, which, in my opinion, was a huge disservice because it muddied the waters. It didn't make things clear. It muddied the waters, and now like all the mess that we are experiencing culturally is because of this. Because they injected it with idealism on top of it, and all of a sudden it became like what happens in your mind happens in reality. So material world is a product of whatever psychological processes in your head, which is a weird and bizarre idea in my opinion.
Well, in that boxing match that you guys are talking about, her coach should have immediately, even before putting her into the ring, should have said, no, we are not going up against that other one. Sorry. Not doing this. We're backing out here.
That's probably how this will resolve, right? You're going to have most of the countries just refuse to box, at least a
Yeah,
trans
that's
woman.
the civil way to bring it out. Each country refusing to compete against a non-biological. The only thing is that sacrifices a lot of gold medals.
It does.
Young kids from throughout the world that train really hard under like grueling circumstance, they like refine their body and their choices, and then they want to step back because of the gender of the other person. It's not an easy thing to tell an athlete to step down at the Olympics,
No, but I think if enough coaches get together from different countries and come together, they'll say, nope, this is our lineup. These are the people we will fight, and take it, leave it, but we're not going in. We're not risking the health and welfare of our boxers.
Well, here's the thing. It'll last about 15 minutes because if 80% of the boxers refuse to fight,
right,
that's 80% of NBC's content that they can't sell commercials for. So, like, it'll get resolved real quickly. But the Algerian fighter won in 46 seconds, and that's not a good thing.
Yeah, I'm looking at that right now, and the woman was left in tears because she was hit so fucking hard.
It's a fucking disgrace.
Yeah, it's just it's like just watching sexual abuse.
It was disturbing. Yeah, it was like watching a man abuse a woman. That was what it was like watching, and it was really creepy. And I've talked to...
When did we condone domestic violence again? I didn't know that was...
I mean, it is Algeria, like...
Well, I was going to say, actually, my clubhouse friends are like the sanest people in my life, which is kind of sad, but I'm grateful for you guys. But
why are they cheering on the victory in
Algeria? So many people are just like, stop overreacting, blah, blah, blah.
You can't overreact enough.
Anyway, I gotta go.
I'm sorry, but I don't think you can overreact enough. What we witness should be an outcry from people. But there are people who already know this, that it just doesn't get televised, but people were forced to watch the fucking thing. but people who have kids in sports, young adults in sports who've had to compete against a boy, a man, there is no way in hell any parent will tell you of a daughter that they should be competing against biological males. I don't care if they went through hormone therapy. By the time they have reached puberty, there are things that no amount of hormone is going to change.
Because at some point, like any man,
Did you hear that,
be like,
Michael?
I identify as a woman. Like now I get to beat up women. Like that's
well, we do. We already have that. We have that happening, but it doesn't get put on the evening news, so people are fucking ignorant of it.
Of
If
course
you have kids in sports, you already know it. It's happening.
And then you look like a bigot bringing up legitimate safety concerns.
I don't even care anymore. I'll tell you.
I don't either.
I'm honestly fucking over it.
That's
I'm over
why
it.
I don't
Seriously,
give
I
a
mean,
fuck.
if you want to see women fighting each other, all you need to do is bring them onto Clubhouse for Christ.
Well, women
No,
can
it's
fight
not
each other.
about
But I don't
women
want to
fighting
see
each
men and women fighting each other.
Yeah,
That's what I don't want to fucking see. I don't want to see a woman's face beat to a pulp because she's fighting a man.
Like I'm a domestic violence survivor, dude. I don't want to fucking see that shit. That shit's triggering as fuck.
It is for most women. It is.
Not to change the subject, but it's probably good timing for that. Looks like, according to the New York Times, what killed Hania was a bomb that was smuggled into the actual residence months ago, and was just waiting for him to actually arrive.
Nice.
Wow. So I want to know who's behind it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have to wait until The Godfather 2 to learn that.
I think it was helicopter. I do it.
Helicopter.
It was Shoki. How do we know it wasn't Avi Ron?
Is that actual Shooky or someone doing a Shooky impression?
Sounded like Shooky.
I know it did.
Yeah, Shuki came on someone else's mic. He's here with them, but we don't want to out him. So Shuki, if you
Shut
have
the
any-
fuck up, you stupid chicken.
It's a good impression.
Let's have it.
Okay, I just pulled up an article that was presented by the U.S. Olympic team that stated that boxing is the only activity at the Olympics that is allowing trans in. Swimming, gymnastics, volleyball, boxing's that's the only sport that they haven't, might not be.
That's the one they picked out of every
Wow, that's crazy.
The true meeting of the sexes.
So they wanted to see a woman's face smashed in. I mean,
that's damn good television.
That's so fucked up. Like what? And this is like all done in the name of social justice, you guys. I'm all for trans people having their own league. Seriously, like I think they should be able to compete in sports, but like have your own fucking league.
But against each other.
Yeah, exactly. It's the only way to fairly
for those of us old enough, we fought a long fucking time to have our own leagues, to have our own everything, to get college scholarships. These are things women fought long and hard for, and that's why you hear people, older female athletes speaking out, because they're the ones that were in the trenches fighting for this shit.
Yep.
Notably, a very gay Martina Navratilova has spoken out vehemently against this, and she's gay. This is not about being homophobic, transphobic. It's about what's right.
What about Bruce Jenner? I mean, I'm sorry to bring back the old name, but that's
Yeah,
an
you don't see
Olympian.
him around anymore. What happened to him?
But she says, Caitlin says, I think not to mix the sports, you know? And that's an Olympic winner.
Right, and so does Martina Navratilova, who's gay. And Bruce
they
Jenner,
shouldn't be
because
mixed.
they understand it. They understand
If you
that
want to mix them, the
biologically
men are going to
they're
win most of
different.
the time, except for select sports that are really designed around like female gymnastics. It's a different style of sport from male.
Honestly, like if participating in Olympian sports is the biggest issue that your community is facing, you're probably in a good spot in society.
That's true. And I think the Olympics should just like draw a line and say whatever you want at home here on the global stage. The men's side is over there. The women's side is over here.
I'd like to just do it at our state level. Our kids don't have to endure that. Like I said, just because you're not seeing it on TV, it's happening every day in every community where women are having to either be physically injured or just not play.
Yeah, my friend's kid made Sports Illustrated magazine the front cover.
Cool.
And she played baseball with the boys all the way through middle school. But once she made it to high school, the rules changed and she had to start playing girls softball. And that's what she does now. And, you know, because of that issue, there's adults out there. We are all adults. We can figure out that this little girl can't go up against teenage boys. It's not going to work out.
Should I go get an energy drink or should I sleep 30 more minutes?
You should sleep. Go to sleep.
Yes. I'm driving around currently looking for an open gas station because nobody has power.
What?
Oh, no.
What backwater country are you in?
No, we had a massive storm last night.
Oh, fuck.
90 mile per hour sustained winds.
Where?
Which is fun. In Omaha.
Omaha.
Oh, is that where you are?
Good everywhere. Oh yeah, it was a mess. I've been through some storms, but that was freaking wild.
I woke up to hail this morning.
Hell.
Yeah,
I woke up to hell too, y'all.
I woke up to hell also.
I woke up at
I did too. I woke up at 6 too.
And I had to take somebody to the airport.
I have the 3 dashes. I have the 3 dashes of death. You know, where your gas tank isn't even measuring gas anymore. So
No, I gassed out over by Council Bluffs, like
Danny, are you in Omaha?
No, not right now, but I'm saying I was going to the airport right by the strip club, the gentleman's club, and the driver ran out of gas right there, and it was still dark. I was so scared. I was like alone with this driver, and he's like, I gassed out, and I was like, what?
Oh, geez. That's kind of a scary area right there.
Okay, y'all, I'm gonna take a nap for a bit.
Gotta stay safe on those roads.
But at least you could go in and get rid of some of your ones while you waited for another car.
Right. Oh, Lord, have mercy. Pray for
Marvin, welcome back.
Gracias.
So, you have any thoughts on the Godfather ending scene?
Oh, yeah. I am. Thanks for reminding me of that. Again, I want to applaud the director of the movie for such a elegant and.
Which movie?
Oh, I'm being sarcastic.
Mm.
And I think that, you know, there's a very strange, again, first of all, there's no war foundation here. I want to really express that. I want to bring that home. None of these countries are going to go above and beyond where they are right now as far as flaming that big quote unquote war. So anytime anybody says that, I'd love to debate that because it's just, there's no foundation to it. But what it does express is this new world of, you know, precision use on a variety of fronts, right? And a very much more clandestine activity. And we've seen those films. Now we're seeing the reality of it. So I think Iran will bark loudly and have a very small bite. That's kind of my quick take.
Yeah, so now Times of Israel is confirming what New York Times said, that it was not, in fact, a missile or precision device that started to rain on your parade that killed Hania, but it was a bomb that was literally smuggled into the home months ago, waiting for him to arrive.
Wow. Really?
Wow.
That's crazy.
That's even so. Think about it. That's even worse. And let me tell you why. That means that there is an enemy amongst us. One of us in the room is the killer.
Well, I mean, as I understand it, this guy was known as like what, the guest, because he was always staying over at people's houses. I mean, they must have either figured out the circuit or had like a good guess as to where he was going to stay. They didn't necessarily need an inside man, but yeah, if someone tipped them off where he was going to stay, or if he knew where he would stay when he visited, they could have just left it there, like buried, waiting. That's crazy.
But
they could have built it into the walls.
Yeah. With that much time.
That is a freaking movie in the making if we ever
Right?
find out the root to the root of the root.
I mean, whoever put the bomb there, that's a good story.
So, but what was the do they have photos of the location of the explosion?
There's a picture of the building.
Was it like just a floor or glass blown out, or was it like the building?
Let me
fell
zoom
apart?
on this because it looks like this might be post-bomb. Yeah, it appears to me like it was like literally one room blew up.
Okay, all right. But are there walls broken or just glass? Can you tell?
It's hard to tell because they have a tarp over it.
It wasn't shot in from another apartment. Like the story keeps changing. This is like
Yeah, no, it was not. And this the apparently according to the Times, I don't know if this is New York Times or Times of Israel, the quote coming from, but it's 7 government officials, including 2 IRGC, American, and I don't know who else. Maybe I don't know who the other 4 are, but are all telling that story.
Wow. So Iran has some domestic problems, don't they?
Yeah. Well, and yeah, so this building, it's owned by the IRGC. It's used for retreats, secret meetings, and housing prominent guests, such as Tania.
Not that secret.
So yeah, I mean that's probably not going to work for them going forward. But it's like literally an IRGC building.
Safe house. It's probably like some kind of safe house thing.
I mean, it's actually kind of big. I didn't
okay. So it's
that big
building, yeah.
Yeah, it's an official IRGC complex. I'll put the link up. But yeah, remotely. I mean, I'd imagine the backstory is going to come out or won't come out. But as soon as that helicopter went down, Israel came up with this. You know, maybe someone worthwhile will be in one of the rooms and smuggle the bomb in.
Put the link up. I want to look at that. But I also want to tell Elle, if you're still driving around for gas, your brand new Costco down on Maple, they're open now. I don't know how long the line would be, but
I just found an open gas station. I had to go to a neighboring town. I was at our lake house, so I wasn't in Omaha proper, but I just found gas and it's packed. So you should see the lines.
well, people are probably buying gas for their generators.
Oh yes, I have a generator going in my shop, but like half the city was without powder.
I'm late to the story. What happened in your area?
We had a nasty storm. There were 90-mile-an-hour sustained winds and then gusts over 100 miles an hour and lots of damage. Half the city without power.
It wasn't a tornado, right?
The tornado sirens were all going off because of the wind speeds.
Mm-hmm.
So they it did the same kind of damage. So in fact, it was some places would be considered a Category 2 hurricane strength winds.
So that's interesting, right? The wind strength was incredibly powerful, but there was no vortex. That's the part that I'm interested
You know, they don't know yet, but I have been driving around and seen some crazy stuff. I mean, there is shit everywhere. And
it was last night?
It was last night. Yeah. But, you know, they also, there's like downdrafts too. So that could have been that or some vortexes. I don't know. But sustained winds everywhere. Like it was. Again, I've been through some nasty thunderstorms, but that was really bad.
And this is the reason I tell you, as a real estate professional, move to a place that has underground electric, not above ground.
See, all of West Omaha, they don't have power because they have underground. It's all the older parts of the city, or you know, even like some of the nicer areas, like older, nice houses, they don't have power because they don't have underground. But all western West Omaha.
Yeah, it's tough with above ground. I've lived many places with above ground, and I just always focus on staying like directly by, within a mile or so of a fire department or a hospital, because then I know that the power company is going to come out and get my lines back up quick, because we're all on the same grid. That's something good for anybody in here that lives in America. I don't know how it works in other countries, but here you can request the power grid for your area and look what you're connected to.
You're right, because during, what was the hurricane we got, Sandy? My mom was out power for like over a month. It was so terrible. But my dad's house is on one of those lines. It was fixed within like 2 days. Like that was unheard of to be fixed so quick.
Where was your mom?
They're in the same town. It's just a matter of where you are on the line. Like she's saying, like when you buy your house, be careful. Like try to buy
like what city or state? I was curious.
Oh, this is New York, Long Island.
She's in Long Island.
This is on Long Island. We got hit with Sandy, and like the storm was really bad.
Was she in the Rockaway? No.
No, North Shore.
North Shore. Okay. I was part of the EOC for Hurricane Sandy. I spent like 3 months working out in the field for them. Very familiar with that.
Was the parts coming from China or something, and that's why there was like a delay for a lot of the work getting done?
Yeah, I can't remember why there was so much delay on those parts, but I think it was just such a overall disruption of so many systems. I remember, I think it was below 14th Street in Manhattan. They didn't have power for weeks.
Yeah, I remember we shipped up, I think, about anywhere between 250 to 300 generators to Coney Island. They were out, and they didn't get power back for quite some time.
Old power grid, old power, these are things that your tax dollars need to go work on.
Yeah, Marvin, but you know what? A lot of people will complain, but they won't go in to their county commission meetings and sit there and bitch there and fight for what they need in their community.
That's right. That is the problem. People just leave it in the hands of others without, oversight or trust but verify type of attitude.
There's also K Street in the lobbying industry.
Was anyone in New York for the blackout? When I was young, there was a blackout for 2 days. There was no power from like New York to like, was it Canada or something?
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, how old are you, Danny? Because I remember the last blackout in New York was like 2005, 2007, something like that.
Yeah, that one was big. It was basically the whole Northeast. I think all as far west as Indiana, and it did go into Canada.
Yeah, you were able to pick up. There was some radio broadcasts, and I had a TV that was like a pocket TV. It had batteries. So I was able to see news reports and like see how massive the blackout was. While we were all like just stranded, no one had power. Even the gas stations, I think, were a bit of a crisis.
Part of the problem with safety is